The Business of Belonging by David Spinks, book review. Okay, so if you're looking for the main points as to what the book covers, I made a racket about this and I will drop that link in the description below. But for this video, let's do it differently. Let's pretend that we're going for a walk in the park. It's a beautiful day and we're just hanging out, and you ask me the question, hey Carmen, what did you think about The Business of Belonging book by David Spinks? And I respond, oh my gosh, I've been in the industry for over 7 years building communities, and I still learnt so much from reading this book. It's funny when you've been in the industry for so long and you think you know so much, and then you read a book like David's and he takes you way back into the very first community in business that existed. David's book transports you back into the 1980s and takes you on a journey as to how the first community was born in business. I won't spoil it for you, it's in the first chapter, but it's definitely worth a read, and I think even the most experienced community builders will enjoy the story. I also had tons of takeaways, and it's things that have made me really rethink how I approach communities of my own and what I say to people that I mentor. So let's talk about that. This is one of my favorite quotes in the book. Come for the utility, stay for the unity. Give the people what they want, and then over time, they will care about the other people in the group. At the early stages, do things that don't scale. If you're just starting to build a community or haven't started yet, read from pages 46 onwards. There's lots of great tips there. Don't just think about new members' onboarding experience. Think about the experience if a current member levels up in your community, from a passive community member to actively involved. What does that experience look like? There's a really cool point about lurkers and how you can move them up the curve. One community had created a week dedicated to lurkers called Lurkers Week, and it was specifically focused on helping move the members up the curve of participation with an actual campaign. You can read more about that on page 92. How to activate successful community leaders. Take away as much of the work and decision making as possible for your community leaders. Make it as easy as possible for them. If you're struggling with engagement, gamification is not going to help. The book is heavy on metrics, and it should be. This is a book about how community can impact business. My favorite pages are pages 40 to 41. Want to know how many members you should have in your community to actually create some kind of impact? Yeah, those pages answer that question. I love that David talks about metrics that takes into consideration the quality of the community and not just the vanity metrics of numbers of members, etc. You can read more about that on page 109. David really deep dives into how to design community spaces and experiences from page 115 onwards. Community experiences fall into asynchronous and synchronous types of events. David recommends to do both. Along with discussing this in further detail, here's a framework to help you design your own community experiences, how to measure success, and other important practical considerations around events, such as what should be the size of your event. If it's a smaller event, you'll have deeper conversations. If it's a bigger event, then the members will have more access to knowledge, more diverse group of people, more collaboration opportunities. You've got to work out what's right for your community members and why they want to attend the event. So in terms of community events, whatever you decide to organize, always start with people and purpose, who it's for and why the event should happen. Another important consideration when creating your events is asking yourself, how do your community members arrive at your event? So think about this. How do you get them in the zone? Some ideas include breath exercises. Do you bang a gong and get them in the moment? It's really important because you want to engage them from the start. David goes through this in detail. You can look at page 137 onwards for ideas. And finally, one topic that I think a lot of people deal with is conflict in community. One of David's main community rules really resonated with me. Critique the idea, not the person. Define what is considered bullying, what is hate speech, what is strictly not allowed in your community, and give specific examples. There's some really great insights into conflict management in the book. You can read that on page 163. David has so many great inside tips and tricks as well that he's included in his final chapter. But overall, this book it's incredible in terms of the content, frameworks, practical tips, case studies based on real life examples. I really enjoyed reading this book. I hope you enjoyed our walk in the park. See you next time.